After much debate, the U.S. decided to take on the challenge of the Panama Canal and make an easier way to trade, turning one of the world's most dangerous areas into one of the greatest engineering accomplishments in the world.
I was able to visit the Panama Canal this summer. It was an amazing experience. When we visited the Gatun locks, they were allowing one of the largest ships go through. I was able to see the ship being raised and guided into the next chamber. The Panama Canal is 51 miles long with 3 locks on each side. The locks are 7 stories tall, 110 feet wide, and 1,000 feet long. They were the biggest concrete structures in the world. The ships are raised 85 feet to travel the whole Panama Canal, and it usually takes 8 to 10 hours to travel through.
The French were the first to take on the challenge in 1882. Ferdinand de Lesseps was the Frenchman in charge of digging the Panama Canal. He had earlier accomplished a sea-level canal through Egypt called the Suez Canal and was a national hero. He planned to do the same for the Panama Canal. 7 years later, the project failed because of disease, debt, dense jungle, raging rivers, and the Continental Divide. Ferdinand spent the rest of his life staring out of his window with an old newspaper at his side.
The Americans were booming with ingenuity. President Theodore Roosevelt believed that they could do anything, including building the Panama Canal. Jan Van Hardenveld said, "In America, anything is possible." When the U.S. asked Colombia for building rights, they refused. In 1903, the United States helped the Panamanians get their much-wanted independence.
After the Revolution, the USA started negotiations with Panama for building rights and started building in 1904. The Hay-Buenaventura Treaty gave the U.S. 5 miles on each side of the building site, called the Canal Zone. The United States started with John Wallace at the head of the project. After many stressing telegrams sent from Congress to make dirt fly, and because disease was killing its workers by the thousand, Wallace resigned.
John Stevens, a railroad man, stepped in for Wallace and set things straight. Stevens was one of the first to see that the sea-level canal would not work. Even though he hated sailing and politics, Stevens sailed all the way from Panama to Washington, D.C., and confronted the president, telling him that they couldn't build a sea-level canal and would have to build a lock canal. Stevens was also the first to believe Colonel William C. Gorgas, the military doctor posted at the Panama Canal construction site, that mosquitoes were the cause of the dreadful sicknesses, yellow fever, and malaria. Gorgas was finally equipped with all the supplies, from screens to oil, to defeat yellow fever and malaria. He finally wiped them out in 1906.
Even after many successful months of digging the Panama Canal, John Stevens told President Roosevelt that he was sick of Panama and wanted to quit and go home. Roosevelt was devastated. He needed someone that would stay on the job and get it done. He hired Lieutenant Colonel Thomas Goethals to finish the job. It was finally finished on January 7th, 1914, and the Ancon was the first ship to travel the new canal on August 15th, 1914.
Because of the Panama Canal, ships can pass through, getting trade items from one side of the world to the other. Panama now owns the canal and has decided to take on a project to widen and improve it. It will allow longer and wider ships to go through. They plan to finish it in 2014. This canal will change the face of the earth. It will unite 2 oceans, the Atlantic and the Pacific, and alter the course of the ships that sail on them. Yes, children, we will be among those who make history. Jan Van Hardenveld, one of the many engineers on the Panama Canal.